Hey, what's up? This your boy D Burrows, and you're not locked in to Hidden Agendas. Today, I got a very difficult episode, man. Got a lot going on. Um, First and foremost, I want to give a shout out to my first cousin. I love you, Jessica. Praying for you and our family. Praying for strength, peace, guidance, one day joy. Sleep well, Liz. We love you. Praying for your baby boy. Um, our family members, your friends, both sides, man, both sides. Uh, Praying for Spooky as well, man. Been a tough week. Been a tough week. And I wanted to address that because we deal with so much, you know. Life is temporary, man. Life is temporary. The only thing that remains standing is God, unchanging hand. And we human. And so if you flesh and you live by that, you ain't gonna want to hear that. But if you got an ounce of righteousness in you, just the faith of a mustard seed, then you know times like these are hard. And I ain't saying that it's gonna get better, but in my heart, we gonna get better. Today, one of them episodes where I really just wanted to address real life stuff, no sports stuff, you know, just real life stuff. And let me take a second to show y'all my hoodie because this is what this episode today is about. Black man, please heal. And although I'm reflecting on my week, my year, my season, my life, although I'm an open book for this story, I know that there's a lot of men out there that's going to be able to relate. This video might not get a lot of views, might not get a lot of hearts, likes, shares, or whatever, and that's fine. But this was the perfect time to have this episode. And so let me reiterate when I say it again. Black man, please heal. For me, dealing with childhood trauma, because that's what it is. I learned how to become and stay active in survival mode. Um, and I'm not saying that it's healthy because I've learned over the years that it's really not. but it helps you deal with so much, whether it's family, friends, uh, co-workers at work, management at work, just whoever, wherever, however. And we go through so much stuff, man. Like we really go through so much. And we need to vent. I know a lot of us would love to vent, but who are you going to open up to? When as a little boy, you've been told your whole life, when you fall, get hurt, get back up, boy. You ain't hurt. You all right. When you feel some type of way, man, stop acting like a little punk. Get out your feelings. And numerous, numerous conversations after that. So you've been taught as a toddler, as a little boy, not to be in your feelings, which turns into not having any feelings. So, how are you able to live when you've always had to survive? Some of us find different outlets in life, whether it may be art, sports, academics, trades, whatever the situation may be. That's our escape. I know some people who use drugs as escape. And I'm not in no position to judge, because to each his own. And that escape mechanism is so crucial to how we go about our day to day. So from a toddler to a little boy, you taught not to have any feelings, get out your feelings. To when you become a teenager, start liking girls, you feeling them and they feeling you. But what they need, which is attention and affection, how can you give that on a consistent basis when you never dealt with that in your life? So that becomes an issue. You start seeing what older guys doing, start seeing what people around you doing, start seeing what little glimpses and little blurs of what your mama and your daddy did, uncles and aunties, or whatever the case may be. So you use that as your example to go into life trying to create your own path. At that time, not realizing that you have dealt and are dealing with childhood trauma, because what once was called trauma has now become your norm. You're seeing it every day. So when you around it and surrounded, that's your norm. It don't really hit you until you take your trip across town and you're at your cousin's house and both parents at home, living a nice, decent life. And you have to come home to no lights and candles. The outside world don't know this because you still walk around with that $1 million smile. Still gonna go up and down Hamilton Street, Preacher Street with a basketball, going to each and every one of your homeboy houses just to escape from where you was just at. Not even realizing at the time that's what you're doing, but that's what happens. How can you address that right then and there when just a few years ago it became okay to actually have this conversation and actually put a name and a label on it? Now here we are, well into adulthood, well into parenthood, trying to make sure our kids are in way better position than we were. Knowing that they're not going to understand or agree with everything that you do and how you do it because they never had to experience what you experienced, not even for a second. Even when one venture off and you know negative stuff being thrown at him, being fed to him, and you can't address everything because God done told you he got this. That might be one of the hardest pills to swallow. Because knowing where I come from, knowing who I was at that time and who I am now, I'm happy that I didn't address it, but sometimes I wish I did. But I thank God that I didn't because now he has a child, and one day that child will have questions and he'll have to answer them. And while he answering them, he'll take a few seconds and he'll really look back on his life and anything that was said to me with anything that was said to him with ill intent about me, he'll know how to filter the real and the fake. Because as a man, There's no way you can think, I'm going to take care of 3 kids when I have 4. That math don't add up. And he'll know for himself that while I was putting his older brother in position, I had him right there in the same position. The only difference is one stayed the course, one didn't. And I've said on many occasions, he's the most talented child I have because he is. He's definitely the most gifted child that I have. But it does me no good to say that. It does me no good for his older brother to say that if he don't realize the gift that he has and if he don't use the gift that he has. See, through my childhood trauma, I've learned one thing. There's 2 words I like to use, but it's all go together. Accountability, manipulation. In my isolation season last year, when I went through what was the hardest year, the hardest season of my life, I just kept hearing accountability, manipulation. And I realized that sometimes, well, most of the time, it's hard to hold yourself accountable when you're used to manipulating things. I'm going to say that again. It's hard to hold yourself accountable when you're manipulating things, manipulating people, situations, whatever the case may be. And I've learned that you become stagnant and complacent when there is no accountability. And although I talk about my childhood trauma and I haven't gotten into full details about everything, I still hold myself accountable because I should have stayed the course. I grew up with everything that I ever wanted, I had. My grandma died at 11. Rest in peace to Cora Mae Pritchard. And I watched my life go from here to here instantly. My mom did the best that she could, and she did the right thing by sending me to Georgia. At the time, I was 12, 11. Yeah, 11, finna be 12. 6th grade, so I didn't understand it. This is who I've been living with my whole life. This is who I'm used to. She need me. She going through something. Everybody else making fun of her. She need her son, her one and only son. As a son, you are your mom's protector. That's how I felt. That's how I still feel. I didn't understand that D, you still a child. You're not capable of taking care of anybody because you can't even take care of yourself. But yet and still, I hold myself accountable for not staying in Georgia to have that better life financially. But I can truly say I have no regrets about the decision that I made because Rock is my brother. Although we ain't always have, we went and hustled and we went and got it. I learned a lot from my mama, even in her storm. I learned a lot from my Aunt Paula, even in her storm. Rest in peace, my Uncle Lamar. I learned a lot from him. My Uncle D, which is who I get my name from. I learned a lot from him. My Uncle Bobby, who I love dearly, and who is one of the most spiritual advisors I've ever had. I learned a lot from him. My Aunt Sharon, we talk all the time still. I learned a lot from her. So, although I could have been well off financially staying in Georgia, I'm grateful that I was able to stay down here and be with my people. But it was hard. I ain't gonna lie to you. Um, Growing up right there in Thomasville, and hanging out with the guys that I did, who I love, still love. Rest in peace, Bird. They helped mold me into who I am. I took the good with the bad, and when it started getting too bad, that's when I left Thomasville and got an opportunity to go to Coffeyville. And although Thomasville made me, Coffeyville saved me. That was the best decision that could have happened for me because I stopped focusing on having one foot in, one foot out of the streets and the court, and was able to focus on the task at hand, which was hooping. I built a lot of great relationships in Coffeyville, a lot of great relationships. Some of those guys, we still family to this day. So imagine growing up one way, one environment was um, different neighborhood gangs. Got PST, got Corner Click, got Compton, which is CPT. And the weird thing about this is I'm stuck in a catch 22 because most of my kinfolk stay out to the corner. And this round of time where that beef hasn't got too deep. But I thank God for Doobie because although he was out to the corner and I was on the other side, I went and stayed with him. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that. I spent a lot of my time with my cousin Terrell and my cousin Doobie. So I know that we don't talk as much as we need to. I love y'all boys. Glad to see the men that we all have become. Wishing y'all boys nothing but the best. And thank y'all for always having me when I ain't have myself. So I go to Coffeeville. Shout out to Gilmore, my boy, CJ Williams, Nunu and all them boy. Took me in like family. And a lot of my ways now, I can truly say, come from them. My ways early on come from my big brother, Brian. But when he got locked up and sent away, those were the guys that I had to really gravitate to. And shout out Randy Jackson too. That's my boy. And all we did was hoop. Like I was hooping in Thomasville, but I was hooping in Coffeeville. Like it wasn't no neighborhood games. It wasn't none of that going on in Coffeeville. And yeah, some gangsters in Coffeeville, they still gangsters, but we was hooping. Like, and that's what I gravitated to the most. Which is who you see today. Helping kids, trying to help my old kids. That comes from my background, my childhood trauma. Who would have ever thought I would be using this gift that I once thought was a curse? Because here's where accountability goes into. At 16, I hated God. Yeah, you heard it. 16 years old, I hated God. Full of hell. Because I didn't understand why my life was in such a spiral like it was. My mama, and I love her, the most amazing woman I know. She is the toughest soldier I know. But she wasn't able to be there. She wasn't able to be the best version of the best version of herself for me. My dad was not able to be the best version of himself for me. And I used to put their demons on me because I know my mama lost her mama on her birthday, November 10th, 1995, while she was staying with us in Uniontown. And I know my dad had lost his mom. Then he had lost my brother Courtney when I was 16. So I made excuses for them as to why they had the demons that they had. And here I am. Thank God I've never lost a child. Still got both parents. So I can only imagine what they was going through. But as I'm older now and a man, I still feel like it was selfish because I needed them and they wasn't able to give me the best versions of them. And somehow I had to stop being bitter and become better so that I'm able to give my kids the best version of me. Now, they ain't gonna always agree with me, and I ain't gonna always agree with them. That ain't what this about. I don't care how they feel. But at the end of the day, you gonna know that the impact I made in your life versus if you look around and you see other daddies around, you'll never be able to say that I didn't give you the best version of me. Now that version has to grow each day, each season, each year, whatever the case may be, because I'm not the same person from 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I mean, high school, I had two kids, man. I was a child raising a child. Never made any excuses about it. Never. And I ain't saying it wasn't hard now. I ain't saying it ain't hard now, because it is. But I've always tried to give the best version of me to each child. And I just pray that as they continue to get older, have kids of their own, they'll do the same thing. I could keep this conversation going, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave this as part one. Part two, I'll go into more details, more info. But I really needed to get this out here because this is needed. And after dealing with what has possibly been the worst work week, it has definitely been a horrible week in general. Losing my little baby cousin and seeing everyone and how emotional they are at this time. So this is dedicated to you, Lex. We love you. Continue to watch over us, man. Continue to watch over us.